Now let's go to the Visual Studio in order to create an example for the interface and for the abstract classes. Here we are. Now this is our project, and I will close these tabs. I will go right click and start with the interface. I need to create a new interface. I can say that like just create a class, and from this menu I can choose interface, or simply if you forget to choose interface, keep it as it is and you can change it from inside the class. Like I will now name this interface like I operations, and I will say add. This is a class and I need to change it to be interface. I will just simply change the class keyword into interface. So this interface, inside this interface, I will create the functions or the contract members. Now, for example, I need to have a void function to do the save operation. And let's say that this function will receive integer a and integer b. That's it. This is how you can define a function inside the interface. You can't come and see like this. You can't have an implementation inside the interface. You just should define the function. That's it. And let's say that I need another function with integer return type. Let's say that update. And this function, let's say that receive integer value for the ID. For example, I have these two functions. Now I will go to one of my classes like student class, and I need to for now just remove this implementation and also remove, for example, this implementation. Just I keep one method, and then now I need to implement the interface. Simply I can say two dots and then I operations. This is the implementation. You can immediately start implementing the functions by your hand. Like you can define the function like this, public, for example, void, it was void, save, and it received integer a and integer b, for example, and you can write your own implementation. And also you have to apply the implement the next or the another function from the I operation, which was, for example, public integer update, and it was receiving the integer value, for example, ID. Because it's integer, so it returned, for example, 0. This is just for instance. Now let's go make sure it is integer, it is save, the same name. If you don't want to do this by your hand, let's go back and remove this, and I will say implement the I operations. You can come to this and you can, using the refactor, implement interface. This will create the implementation for your for the interface functions automatically here, and you can just simply remove this line, the throw exception, and you can write just your implementation. And this also, for example, say return 0, for instance. So now I have the same functions with a new implementation inside my student class. In this way, I can use the same functions with different implementation in several classes. Like if I go to the teacher now, I don't want to inherit from the student. I just want to implement the I operations, and I want to say, okay, do the implementation for me, and just remove this and do your code here. Return 1, for example. So I have different implementation for the same methods in the interface I operation. This is because we remove it, and I don't want this implementation. Okay, for now. So this is the way of how we can create an interface and how we can implement the interface in the classes. Now let's go and create an example for the next feature, which is the abstraction. I will go again and create a new class. I will call it, for example, my abstract class. This is simply class. I will just say like abstract class, my abstract class. Inside the abstract class, we said that we can create abstract methods or non-abstract methods. I will do the same. I will create, for example, let's say void do something, void do something, and also what's wrong, do something must declare body. Okay, because if it is abstract, so we need to say okay, abstract void do something, and the private, it should be public. It is abstract, so it should be also public. So we have created here a function, abstract function, public access modifier, and this function will return nothing. And also I can go and say okay, create another function but not abstract function, void for example do something extra. This is not acceptable because this is not abstract, so I need to create the implementation here. Let's keep the implementation empty, it's okay, but this means that I have some implementation. Now let's go back to, for example, the teacher class, and I will remove this implementation, and I need to inherit the abstract class. Now in this way, I can simply implement the abstract method inside my student class. I can do that by myself, and I can do that using the refactor in Visual Studio. It seems that there is something wrong. Okay, let's go back. Public abstract. This also should be public class in order to be accessible by the other classes. So by this way also I inherit my abstract class, and I do the re-implementation for the abstract methods. And now I want to go to, for example, the teacher and create object from the student class. I will say std obj equal a new student class. Here I want to say std object dot. See, I can have access to do something extra, and to, for example, the get student name, save and update. Let's see the update and save and do something extra. From where this came? Do something, for example, first of all, the get student name and the save and the update in the student class, but the others from here, do something and do something extra from inside the my abstract class. So now I have access to this, and I have access also to this with a new implementation, and the new implementation is here. So by this way we can create the interfaces and the abstract classes. And now we understand the difference between the abstract classes and the interfaces.